Donald Trump has officially issued an executive order banning social media apps TikTok and WeChat within 45 days, unless these companies get sold to a US company. And so they'll no longer be operated under a Chinese-owned parent company. Now, there are many theories as to why Trump is doing this. We'll talk about that in just a second, but first let's get to some of these details. Now, look, the order luckily does not state that the US Treasury should take a cut of whatever deal happens from a sale, something that Donald Trump was pretty insistent on earlier. But what we know so far is that the order regarding TikTok prohibits after 45 days any transaction by any person or with respect to any property subject to the jurisdiction of the United States with ByteDance Limited, the Chinese company that owns the social media platform. So Trump talked about his motivations behind doing this. I think that what he's saying publicly is very different from what the private motivations are. But let's take a listen to what he's had to say about this, and then we'll talk about the reality.
Here's the deal. I don't mind if, whether it's Microsoft or somebody else, a big company, a secure company, very, very American company, buy it. I did say that if you buy it, whatever the price is, that goes to whoever owns it, because I guess it's China, essentially, but more than anything else. I said a very substantial portion of that price is going to have to come into the Treasury of the United States, because we're making it possible for this deal to happen. Right now, they don't have any rights unless we give it to them. So if we're going to give them the rights, then it has to come into this country. It's a little bit like the landlord-tenant. Without a lease, the tenant has nothing. So they pay what's called key money, or they pay something. But the United States should be reimbursed or should be paid a substantial amount of money, because without the United States, they don't have anything. So it'll close down on September 15th unless Microsoft or somebody else is able to buy it and work out a deal, an appropriate deal, so the Treasury of the Treasury, I guess you would say, of the United States gets a lot of money, a lot of money.
All right, so just to clarify, that was on August 2nd. He hadn't yet issued the executive order, but just to give you some more information about the order, Trump's order does allege that TikTok, quote, automatically captures vast swaths of information from its users, like pretty much every other Silicon Valley company in existence, such as location data and browsing and search histories, which threatens to allow the Chinese Communist Party access to Americans' personal and proprietary information, potentially allowing China to track the locations of federal employees and contractors, build dossiers of personal information for blackmail, and conduct corporate espionage. I mean, I would be surprised if you have federal government employees utilizing TikTok. If this is a known national security concern or some sort of issue where the Chinese government would spy on government employees, then maybe government employees shouldn't download it on their phone. And I don't think that it's really like something that government employees are doing. It's not like some widespread issue. Teenagers mostly use TikTok and they have fun with it. They use it to communicate with their friends and engage with them. That's not to say that I don't believe that spying would take place. I absolutely do believe that this type of data collection would happen. But my point is that this type of data collection happens across the board. All sorts of information about us gets collected by social media platforms. Is it a little worse that it would be a foreign country? Sure. But I don't think that this is really the motivation behind what Trump is doing with these bans on TikTok and WeChat.
Yeah. So the question when anything that Donald Trump does becomes, what is the motivation? How is this going to help him? I don't think that's much of a stretch anymore to take that as the approach. How it's going to help him? Look, we're in August. The election's coming up. He's already paranoid. He's doing many other things to try and promote himself to get reelected. So where does this fit in? Because of the battle with China. Then he also wants to have, continuing with the negative view of China when it comes to coronavirus, because how it originated, and he said the language has become, they sent it to us. They sent it to us. So I think it could be another step in this fight with just a full, complete anger towards or characterization of the way China is versus us, good guys versus bad guys. When, as you pointed out already, as far as this comes, and we can see that on many other things. There was issues about stealing of information and intellectual properties, all those things, right? But when it comes to something like this, you wonder, what is it right now? Why right now? TikTok didn't start in June of 2020, So it's not one of those things where like, oh man, this new thing just popped up. You know what's happening here? So I guess it's there's the tariff battle. There's the money that's exchanging. There's businesses that do business over there that he wants to limit. All those are happening. But there was one part that I also did read. Remember his Tulsa rally, and the horrible showing that it got, and the fun that was made of him, and then the sicknesses that some people caught from that rally. All that went down, and also, but the main thing for him, he didn't care about people getting sick. The main thing was the horrible turnout. There was some rumors that people on TikTok were saying, hey, you guys, this builds information, buy up tickets, free tickets for his show, and then don't show up, watch, and it's gonna be so funny. And I'm not sure how much that contributed to it. I think minimally, but that's one of those things that could get under a thin-skinned person like Donald Trump and be like, TikTok is the reason. He goes after Twitter and Facebook, and I don't know if he's going after Instagram yet, but he's going after all of them for any small thing they've done that have hurt him in his mind. This could be just another thing to push him over the tipping points.
I think that you're right in that the Tulsa rally got under his skin, but the motivations to ramp up a potential war with China existed far before this Tulsa rally took place. So I think that that's a bigger issue here. So for instance, look, in the 1990s when we started to really trade with China, and that really started to explode, there was this understanding that the United States would engage in trade negotiations with China, with the United States seeking cheap labor. There's no question about that. And I'm sorry, cheap labor, which would lead to cheap consumer goods, which would also, distract Americans and consumerism away from the fact that inequality was increasing significantly beginning in the 1990s, right? And then at that point, though, there was this almost like an unspoken agreement that China could grow, but not in a way that would threaten the hegemonic power of the United States. And so there was really this pivot toward China or China policy during the Obama administration. And unfortunately, now you have someone like Trump who has all these people in his administration and all these advisors who he speaks to that literally have a vested interest in challenging China as a hegemonic power. So look, China was able to make some moves with its stimulus plan back in 2008 that helped prevent the entire world economy from completely collapsing. So that was when people started to notice, hey, maybe China is more than just a country we can exploit for cheap labor. Then you have this issue with China really accelerating and expanding its own military spending. So just to give you some ideas, in 2018, there was $240 billion in global arms sales. That's a lot of money, okay? 59% of that came from the United States. But by 2019, China really did skyrocket on the global scale when it came to its own arms. It not only expanded arms sales, but was able to really compete with the United States in providing arms for cheaper prices. And so by 2019, out of the 15 highest performing defense companies in the world, 6 of them operate out of China, are from China. And Secretary of State Mark Esper was working for Raytheon, okay? He was a Raytheon lobbyist before he started working for the Trump administration. And what they agreed to do was, this is common, a deferred compensation package. And so he wouldn't get paid until 2022, and his pay would be based on the value of Raytheon stock. So Mark Esper is one of the people within the Trump administration who's been pushing for this type of rhetoric, right? Just this ramping up of war with China. And keep in mind that he literally has a vested interest in doing that. So this whole TikTok thing, I think, is part of that puzzle, right? Because you think Donald Trump is really concerned about Americans being spied on? You think Donald Trump is concerned about anything other than himself? Of course not. What we do need to do though is take a step back and look at the bigger picture and understand like the historical context behind the motivations today, and also, the swamp that Trump has really surrounded himself with, the Mark Espers of the world. Steve Bannon said, there's no question, war with China is inevitable. And that kind of stuff should terrify you because, these are the types of people who have in the past successfully engaged in wars that we should have never gotten involved in. I'm sorry, Mark Esper, I think I misspoke. I think I said Secretary, he's Secretary of Defense. I think I said Secretary of State. That was my mistake, my bad.
We always have to, of course, then back it up and say, oh yeah, nobody's saying that China does everything perfectly. So let's just bake that all in now. We already understand that China and many of their policies and things with the ruling party there aren't always on the up and up. So we can get that out of the way and understand that even though things like that happen, we can also continue to hold our officials' feet to the fire to make sure they're doing things correctly. Because sure, no one wants their information stolen. No one wants their personal information picked up by some rando person. But think about how often you guys out there, you download an app and it says, there's all the things that we're gonna have access to, the things that we're gonna attach from your phone, things we can do, post for you, take things off, friend, unfriend, all those things can happen in many apps and we bowl right through, right? So it's understanding that and understanding how many people use TikTok, I can get the fear. So your barriers could be around government officials, people that actually do things where someone is in need of their information and things that are on their phones as your restrictions. But I think to make it a broad thing, he also has the opportunity to then, as he's been asking for, we can get lots of money, a lot of money, a lot of money. That's definitely another motivation. And maybe people that are smarter than him are trying for the other things like what Esper's doing with his bank accounts. But they can appeal to Trump by going, hey, we can make some money off of this. And he's like, I'm in. That's all he's thinking.
For sure. Of course. And remember, China really does pose a threat to our Silicon Valley economy. It does. China is a real competitor, especially since they're first and the most advanced when it comes to the 5G technology. And so again, there are actual vested economic interests behind the decisions and the rhetoric that we're hearing from the Trump administration. So just be aware about that. It's easy to get caught up on a more granular level, especially with stories about what's happening with TikTok and WeChat. But if you, again, take a step back and you look at the bigger picture, you'll understand that, again, it's money behind these decisions and the corruption that we see with people like Defense Secretary Mark Esper.
Want to win a free electric scooter? Well, our partners at Aspiration and Zoom Electric are making it possible. All you have to do is head to tyt.com/greensummer for your chance to win.